Hi everyone, and welcome to this video. This is Fire Moon, and I'm super excited to be here today for this brand new reading, which will be all about your path to greatest prosperity and abundance. So when I set out to record this reading, I set the intention to receive some messages for you specifically on the path that will bring you greatest financial wealth and material abundance. But I also wanted to get some insight for you as to how you might be able to align to that in a way that also fulfills your soul's purpose and passion. So this is a reading that talks about abundance in both the material and the spiritual sense, and it's going to talk about the greatest sort of highlight of that in your life and the greatest sort of path towards that. Doesn't mean that there aren't others. It doesn't mean that you can't have multiple ones or multiple talents, multiple interests, multiple investments, and even careers potentially. So you might also want to pick several piles if that resonates for you. But in any case, I have 5 of them for you, as well as a green stone. So the first one is going to be Aventurine. The second is green Obsidian. The third will be Malachite. The fourth is Goldstone. And the fifth is Jasper. So take a second to see which one calls to you the most, and I will see you on the other side. So hi everyone who picked the first card as well as the Aventurine. So let's take a look at your path to greatest prosperity and abundance. So the first 2 cards will signify you. What sort of skills and investments are going to be bringing you closest to this path? Then this card will talk about the journey that you will have aligning to this path or to this result. Then we'll look at the guiding forces, so the positive guiding forces, then at any potential challenges, and then we'll get a card that signifies the signs that you will be seeing as you align to this path, and then we'll pull some tarot to clarify everything here. Okay, so right off the bat, we have lots of green in this reading. So this talks about the heart chakra, and this card here, it says Moon Soul, and it talks about something that is really dear to you and very close to your heart. Of course, green is also about money, so it's great that we're already seeing this alignment between emotions and spirit and finances and materials. So the card that signifies you, so this is like whatever talents or attributes within yourself you are bringing in order to achieve this wealth and this abundance. And this card says just more about how you're approaching this. So this says child nature. So the light attributes of this would be friendships with animals, communication with nature spirits. And then this card signifies the 6th house, so sustainability. And already from the combination of these cards, I'm getting lots of things. You might have important Virgo or Taurus placements, potentially even Capricorn as well. You might really care about the environment very deeply, like it says here, Moon, Soul. You might be really close to nature or to animals. Another thing, of course, that this could mean is being a vet or being some sort of a caretaker or of the planet, of animals, of children even. And maybe this talks about like childcare as well. And when I was looking at this card, I really was noticing this intricate kind of fabric and this pattern here, which reminded me of another card in this deck, the Archetypes deck, which is actually the Mother card. So motherhood might be really important for you, or some sort of connection to nurturing and caring for others. So I'm really getting the sense you might also have really important Cancer placements because the moon signifies Cancer. But in any case, you are meant to contribute something really beautiful and healing for the world. So this could even be something like therapy or just in general, making the environment around you a better place, because the 6th house here also talks about things that are repetitive in real life and things that tend to repeat. So for some reason, this is also reminding me of the Pluto and Virgo generation, which brings with it themes of like improving the health system, improving medicine, improving the way that like healing, and whether it's institutionalized or more private, is accomplished in a way that is more sustainable and just better for the planet and more connected to not like a potentially manipulative or draining way of making money out of it. So like you might want to reform the health system or something like that. And it's sort of interesting because we're getting all these messages about like being really good to the environment and good to the earth. So for you, it's really important that you respect materials. And this is, you know, one of the really highest lessons of Virgo energy, which I'm getting because it's associated with the 6th house of having just as much integrity as possible in dealing with materials. And materials, of course, includes money. So treating it as though it were an element of nature is going to bring you so much fulfillment and joy and, you know, all of this abundance that we're inquiring about here, but is also going to specifically improve the world. So for you specifically, group number 1, I'm really sensing that like if you were to ask the question of like, how do I make the most money? How can I make the most money in this world? Like specifically, I don't care how I accomplish it. Like, I just want to make it. Like, that is not going to bring you closest to this. You have to also ask how you can make the world a better place. And you're already so empathic, so compassionate, so such a service-oriented person in the most beautiful sort of way. And you are such a nurturing person. That's really what I'm getting here. So that energy within you that is so nurturing, whether it is literally like being a mother, and this could be, you know, the way that you come about, or you come into alignment rather with this path of financial abundance as well. We'll see how that could happen, but that could be possible. But for you, it's sort of like a kind of indirect question, potentially, of asking how you can improve things around you and how you can connect your soul and your heart into it. So the more you put your heart into this, the better chances you are that you're going to see a lot of sort of signs guiding you around, because we're getting the Ace of Wands, and this talks about inspiration. So you have to really listen to these things that inspire you and really touch your heart. Like if you really care about the environment, if you want to, you know, for example, like do something that's related to climate change or something like that, or to like working with like forests, or maybe potentially in the area of deforestation, things like this, to improve anything that has to do with the world, the literal earth. This is very much indicated. So if you have a passion for that, Spirit is always going to be nudging you to go for the things that you're actually passionate about, that you actually have true feelings about. And wow, actually what I'm noticing is that we have, this is crazy, we have 444 here indicated. So 44 on the 6th house card and 4 on this one. And this talks about the challenge. So this is snow angels. The signs are with you already. Wow, that's crazy, because this says that you already have the passion that will bring you closest to this path that we're talking about here, to this reality where everything in your life is abundant from the inside out. So you're getting these nudges, you're getting these inspirations, these feelings, these inner sort of, you have this inner knowing already. That you should walk this path, but maybe you haven't. And also what I'm noticing with the winter here, yeah, like weather might be very important potentially, if not like as related to the environment and potential climate change and anything of that sort. This could just have to do with the place that you live in right now, which might require you to move in order to fulfill this destiny, or this alignment between your true soul passion and your greatest material abundance. So another thing that I was going to say with this, because this fabric is what made me think of the Mother card and this archetype deck, maybe potentially like fabric design or fashion in some sort of sense, like sustainable fashion as well, like slow rather than fast fashion. And this could also be a really good area for you to work in. And yeah, just encouraging people to connect with really deep and high integrity to the materials around them, to treat them with care and with respect in order to raise the vibration around them. Because like even the way you fold a piece of clothing and put it away, that has a certain energy, and the more care and the more love and the more neatness, again, very Virgo energy here, you have around you, the more happy your environment is, the happier it makes you therefore, and then the more of a beautiful and supportive and nurturing person you are back to the world, so that you can give to the world and then also automatically receive in return. So the card that signifies your guidance on this path is so obvious, Little Owlin. So wisdom as light as a feather. And I want to read a little bit from this card. Let's see what this is talking about. So this is going to be 39 and This is going to add up to 12, which adds up to 3. So this is a path of creativity. And if you were ever bullied about these passions that you have, or these, maybe it is multiple passions, maybe it's one main one, because it's you were told that it's not going to bring you closest to, you know, to wealth, to money, then this is telling you to listen to that gentle voice within. The moon is also a card that speaks about gentleness and love, and it's exactly that energy root that's so high vibrational and rooted in love that is going to also bring about material abundance. So this says, you sometimes believe that wisdom is harshly gained, strained for, sweated for, earned with your lifeblood. And so it is at times. At other times, like the one you find yourself in right now, you find the getting of wisdom to be as soft and light as this owl's feathers. A more powerful talisman hardly exists. You are being given a great gift. You will be able now to see more clearly, even when there is no light around you. Night will hold no fears for you. You will hear clearly what people are truly saying when they are speaking with you. Their words' true meanings will be utterly apparent immediately. You will be able to know exactly where people, beings, and their energies are coming from, so it will be very simple to make wise decisions. You will be able to move suddenly, and this is exactly this energy of the Ace of Wands, and grasp your fate quickly when this helpful being comes to share your life. She is both fairy and owl, a shapeshifter in form, and as swift and clear as rain. You will be able to hold a great deal more power than before. That also talks about power and spirit energy. But you will know exactly how much force or pressure to apply in any circumstance. You will be resilient and resourceful, and you will waste nothing, and justice will be done. So, wow, what a lovely message there. And this talks about the simplicity of just simply acknowledging that passion within and that wisdom that is coming from the sort of daily mantras, because I'm back to this energy of the 6th house here, the stuff that just comes to your mind every single day, the repetitive nudges that you get from within to follow this path of greater creativity, where you are potentially, this could also just talk about art in general, maybe creating with materials like natural materials, maybe also creating sustainable art. But in any case, it's a very, very mindful sort of way of working with materials that then also just simply by sort of as a reward for your mindfulness and for your integrity gives you great wealth and even recognition potentially, and just so much yeah, wealth. So let's look at some tarot here to get more messages about this. Yeah, I'm also seeing the chakras here highlighted from the root to the crown, and that literally talks about that bridge between the material and the spiritual. And wow, exactly as I'm saying that, I get the Two of Pentacles, which talks about juggling, and it talks about equality between two different types of energy. So this represents Jupiter in Capricorn, which is not the easiest placement, but it's one that signifies being able to grasp the potential around you and to make something real and tangible in 3D out of it. Yeah, so with the Queen of Swords, you might have had some sort of harsh person around you. I think that's where you're getting this card about gentle wisdom. You might have had some sort of harsh word in your ear, or some sort of potentially a feminine figure who was telling you that you can't achieve stability. And oh yeah, I was going to mention with the 444, this talks exactly about stability and also about angelic guidance. Wow, obviously, like there's an angel right here. So this person who is a little bit more 3D minded and a bit more harsh in their mindset, maybe practical, maybe they have Capricorn placements, might have told you, or maybe you learned this lesson early on in childhood from them, that this thing that you're interested in is not feasible because it's just either indulgent, or it's childish, or it's too idealistic and you can't really make money with it, or you can't, yeah, gain stability with it. But there is this really significant guardian angel who's coming up for you to really encourage you to you know, to grasp and to honor the signs and the inner nudgings that you have within you already. So the signs are with you. Okay, so 8 of Wands in reverse. You are like, this is a weird message I'm getting. Like your higher self almost has like already moved into this reality where you have all of this beautiful material wealth available to you, and where your daily work aligns with your purpose and with this beautiful creative impulse that you have within you. But your lower self sort of has been kind of timid about fully embracing this path that is available to you, and that's here right now, actually. So with the Seven of Cups, yeah, there's some confusion here for some reason. You're maybe not sure if this is the right thing to do, if you want to, you know, throw away whatever you currently have in your life and walk this new path, if that isn't the case, or if it is the case that those things are disconnected for you, your passion and your daily job. Yeah, with, for some reason, I forgot which card was making me think about a change, a big change in your life, but you might have to change jobs in order to do this, but I'm sensing that you have always been in this energy, regardless of what job, what daily activities are taking up your life. You were always, regardless of that, regardless of how many things were taking up your time, you were always holding this passion, this true love for whatever this is, whether nature, animals, fashion, lots of things came up, like healthcare, environmentalism, in your mind, and you might have still been doing things like sort of on the side. So this is talking about some bigger change to this. With the Eight of Wands, there wants to be forward movement, really quick forward movement here, but there's a sort of delay. So I want to see if I could get any kind of clarifying messages for these cards. So I'm going to actually go and take a really mini deck. One second. So I'm back. I just want to see what this confusion or just fogginess is about here. So why are you a little bit reluctant to move forward really quickly on this path that you already really feel very deeply within your soul? Okay, so with the Four of Wands here, this brings up fours once again. Yeah, you're afraid that it will not bring stability because you've internalized some sort of ideas about how you need to be serious, or you need to work in a way that fulfills some sort of like social norm or convention. You might have, I'm getting lots of Libra energy with the Queen of Swords and the Justice card here. Potentially a Libra person, potentially a feminine person in your life might have told you that, wait, which card do I want to clarify right now? Might have told you that you have to be really careful about the things that you invest in your life. Okay, so Six of Swords. Yeah, this mentality of hardship, which is also what this card talked about, like feeling like you need to struggle, like you need to work hard in order to be successful or in order to get money, is maybe what's holding you back here. So you're unable to move, to release this mentality. But this is talking about something that is not yours and that you need to leave behind. So with the Four of Cups here, yeah, what I'm also feeling is that this person who might have given you this harsher advice in the past might have experienced some sort of disappointment or some sort of situation where they felt like they missed out on some higher path of success or of abundance. So therefore they're like, it could go both ways. They might be worried for you making the same mistake, or they might be a little bit jealous of the fact that maybe you have this ability, which is so, you just have, or so talented creatively, and you have this ability that might kind of threaten their own story that they've created in order to console themselves, in order to give themselves some sort of comfort about the fact that they feel like they've missed out on their purpose and their passion by aligning to some harsher kind of path where they worked hard because that's what, maybe that's what their own parents or their family or their cultural background taught them. So there's maybe potentially some resentment there, but you're meant to, it's like what I'm sensing is that it is like a soul contract for you. You have a soul contract that talks about you being able to, and wow, the Ace of Swords came up twice, the Ace of Wands came up once, so lots of aces, lots of understanding, and lots of truth here. So there's a really important soul contract that you have that says that you must align to your soul's truth when it comes to the things that you invest in, whatever it is, whether this is relationships, whether this is indeed your career, or the way that you approach materials and money in general. Like everything that you do must have truth, like soul truth to it. Otherwise, it's not like you have this really high level, high vibrational purpose in this life, which is to create truth and to show truth to the world through your specific creativity and these channels, these creative, naturally talented channels that you have for basically alchemizing materials. That's a very Virgo thing. I always use that kind of phrasing for Virgo energy, which is really coming up there with the 6th house. So with strength and the 8 of Wands, yeah, what I'm feeling is that you might have tried to hold both of these visions or both of these paths simultaneously, like working full-time at your current job, which might not align to this soul, this passion that you have, and potentially also just waiting your turn to put stuff out there or to set on this new path. Like you might have had a lot of patience, resilience when it comes to waiting for the right moment. And this is telling you that you're actually ready right now with the World card and the Ace of Swords. The World is the last of the major arcana cards, and it talks about completion. And wow, what a beautiful imagery. Look at this. We have the earth here and fishes, so more animals, more environmental energy here. So this is really important. Maybe water is also important for you. Maybe you work with water in some sort of way. Like this is telling you that you are ready to go down this path. And maybe you're also like finishing your studies in some sort of area, like related to all of this kind of energy, and now it's time for you to enjoy the rewards of that. And yeah, with the owl, wow, with the owl underneath the owl, and this is like similar imagery here. This is crazy. I love all of these synchronicities here. So you might be seeing lots of owls around potentially, like that's very clear. And the signs that you're getting, if you're not getting them, if you're not recognizing the ones that are just within you, like your own inner voice, you might be seeing lots of 444 around. You might be getting messages about angels, about spirit guides watching over you, things of this sort. So, wow, yeah, with the Ace of Swords again, the Swan, I'm not sure. This reminds me actually, now I'm seeing what this is about, but I was going to say with the Justice card, you have this opportunity now to begin a new cycle and to set out on this path that fulfills that deep soul contract that you have about making the world a better place through aligning to your passions. But this card reminds me of a 3 of Swords card actually in another deck. Actually, I think it's in the Shadowscapes Tarot, where there's a swan who has 3 swords going through her, because if you see, like you can't tell, I mean, yeah, obviously maybe she's holding this sword in between her wings, but it sort of maybe also looks like she's being stabbed by it. So I think this has to do with leaving something behind, because what comes next is the 8 of Cups. So you might be, maybe this reluctance here and this confusion and this potential inability to make a choice or to commit to this choice with the 8 of Wands there in reverse has to do with not wanting to leave something behind or someone behind, or not wanting to maybe sign this contract, which you know, yes, it will align you to your greatest soul's truth, but it might also might also make you sort of lose some people currently in your life because they're not going to approve of this choice. So if that is the case, this is telling you that you have to be, this Page of Wands is a card that is really fiery and audacious and a little bit bold. So this talks about just sticking to your soul truth and not letting anyone bully you, even if this means being a little bit feisty and defensive, because this is your life that we're talking about here. This is your path. This is your energy. This is your materials. This is your money, actually. And, you know, time is money as well. So the way that you spend your time is up to you and should be up to you. And you should have this decision available to you. So with the 3 of Pentacles at the bottom here, there will be people who are able to help you on this path. And these guides that you have around you will really make sure that you are going to meet them. So if you've never been supported on this path, or if you feel like no one has really understood this soul passion of yours, then you're definitely going to get support along this path once you make this choice to align to it. Also, because the Mother card came up, the mother could be your mother or someone else's mother maybe, or just anyone who embodies this sort of nurturing energy, maybe someone who has already done it, because I feel like this is a progression of this card, and also they look very much related. So maybe this is like your mother has done something like this in the past, and maybe she has something to impart to you, or someone in your family actually, or just someone who is very similar to you at the soul level too. There could be some guidance there. If the feminine figure in your life who's telling you you can't do certain things is your mother or someone else in your family, that's a confirmation of that. But I feel like there are two possibilities here. Like this group is definitely split into two subcategories. And also another message that I get from these cards is just that the way that you've been nurtured, and I feel like a lot of you have had really just kind, compassionate, such, you know, unconditionally loving mothers that showed you how beautiful it is to be cared for in that way. And then that also gave you this ability to love and nurture and treat others, whether it's animals, whether it's people, whether it is the environment around you, in the same way. So this is just a confirmation of that, and it is scripted in your soul lineage and your karmic lineage that you complete this cycle of caring for everything around you and nurturing everything around you. This could also talk, going back to that environmentalist theme from before, about doing something for the betterment of generations to come, and that you know will stand the test of time, with the 444 there, with the 4 of Wands. What you're contributing to here is an overarching cycle in humanity and the Earth's history that will be really significant. So wow, what a sort of powerful message there. Okay, so let's see, what final card do I want to pull for you here? So what else do you need to know? Okay, the difficult relationships in my life are the perfect mirror for me to look more closely at my own behavior. Okay, so that message potentially about a feminine figure, whether your mother or someone else's mother or something, might be relevant for you. And let's pull one mini card here. So maybe this has to do with the way that you were nurtured and loved, and which made you feel not so supported, and now you have this deep desire within to not repeat that cycle, so to transform your karmic kind of lineage into a more high vibrational loving one. Okay, so dragonfly, that could also be a sign that you're getting you bring light to this world. So what a beautiful closing message there, just by being you and connecting to your soul passions, and by being as compassionate and nurturing and loving as you are improving the world, and you're going to be greatly rewarded for this. So you don't have to worry about finances. You don't have to worry about like manipulating anything around you in order to get some sort of, to align to some sort of path, some secret path that you didn't know about that will bring you greatest money. It will naturally flow into your life as you get more courageous, right, with the Strength card, and just decide to follow this path that you know is yours, and to not be afraid of who you might lose in this process, and it's not like, you know, in higher spiritual truth, you don't really lose anyone who's truly connected to you at the soul level. So I guarantee you actually that once you embark on this path and you embrace all of these beautiful gifts that you have to their fullest, because I feel like you've already done some work but not completed it, others are actually going to see the results that you're getting, which are going to be very visible, because we have so much like earthly imagery here and so much material energy. They're going to be visible. It's not like, you know, they're ignorable at all. And they're also going to validate you too. So don't, you're going to be surprised by how much even those who have been your harshest critics so far, or maybe even the people who have held you back from following this path, are going to respond to your success once you do have it, and you will. So that's what I'm seeing for you, card number 1. I hope that some of this resonated, gave you a little bit of insight, and I would love to hear how this applies to you if it does, and how this resonated. And I have some other readings up there. Take a look at those, and I do have an Etsy shop as well if you're looking for any personal readings. I do lots of astrology stuff, birth charts, synastry charts, solar returns, as well as individual readings like love readings. So yeah, otherwise I would really appreciate your likes, shares, subscribes, and maybe I'll see you here some other time. Bye. So hi to those who picked the second card as well as the green obsidian here. So this reading will talk about your path to greatest prosperity and abundance. So the first 2 cards are going to be signifying you. So what energies do you have to, but will you be embodying as you align to this path of greatest prosperity and abundance? What are you working with? What inner archetype are you channeling in order to align to this? And also, what are some of the ways that you achieve this, like any tools, any channels for that? Then this is going to talk about your path to that. So what does it look like? Your supportive energies and guidance, potential challenges here, as well as the signs that you'll be getting that tell you that you are aligning to this path that brings you closest to your highest abundance. And I'm already seeing lots of similarities to the first pile. So I did talk in the intro about how you might have multiple paths that bring you closest to your greatest experience in reality of abundance. So you might be connected to that as well. I'm seeing another angel card from the same deck. I'm seeing another ace card here, and the 6th house came up but in a different deck here. So already things that are coming up are highly spiritual connections between earth and heaven. And this talks about your daily job being your passion and also being spiritual in nature, because the first card that's coming up here is guide. So this is you, and this is you channeling specific energies within you in order to align this to this path that we're talking about. So it represents the nature of the divine in life and in yourself. So wow, and another synchronicity with pile 1, another owl. So lots of wisdom, and I feel that a lot of you are really old souls here. And actually, wow, old energy, Saturn energy, the idea of old souls might be important to you, because we also have the card, an elder will teach you, and the mermaid also signifies, not the mermaid, why did I say mermaid? The turtle. Interesting, there's maybe a mermaid card in this reading somewhere else, but the turtle signifies old age and longevity and wisdom as well. So yes, you might feel like you are too young to set out on this path that you feel so guided towards. This person is holding a lantern. I'm sorry that there's so much glare going on. I don't know what's happening with my lighting in my house today. Maybe I have more glowy cards, more shiny cards than usual, but she's holding a lantern, and this reminds me of the Hermit card, and the 6th house is also associated with Virgo, and the Hermit card is Virgo in the tarot. So this talks about potentially having been alone for the past cycle in your life, and then having discovered this gift, because the Ace of Swords talks about epiphanies, and it talks about higher understanding, it talks about downloads, it talks about spiritual truth. So you might have had a change in your life at some point that brought you closer to this feeling that tells you that you have to be some sort of spiritual guide, or to help others spiritually in some sort of way, or that your job has to be spiritual in nature. And of course, anything in life can be approached spiritually. Even if you are working a 9-to-5 job, you could very much make room for spirituality within that, or embody, or just simply infuse every single action you take every day with that sort of high vibrational spiritual energy. But this talks about specifically you being some sort of maybe even like so lots of things coming up here, some of them also connected to the first pile. So therapist, well, just in general, like connected to spirituality and religion. Also being like working with more esoteric energies, like even tarot and astrology, things of this kind, but also just helping people in general to see the truth. So there's a slight difference here, yes, I'm seeing between the piles, where you help people more in conceptual ways rather than practical or material ways. You improve the world by improving people's psyches, people's minds, people's mindsets when it comes to understanding themselves. With the lantern and the hermit, you basically guide others to know themselves more deeply and to discover something really sacred about themselves that then also improves the world, because the 6th house talks about improvement, and it talks about bringing something into life at the sort of microscopic, repetitive, sustainable level. So by encouraging others to look within themselves, and also we have the card Imun Coeli, which represents the 4th house, the point that is lowest and darkest in the chart, the one that is least seen. So your experience, okay, what I'm seeing is that you've had some really deep experience, potentially something you might call awakening, or just an experience where you went through some sort of spiritual transformation where you connected maybe for the first time to what you consider to be spirituality and or religion. And this happened, of course, in sort of like the privacy of your own home, or in a place that maybe, or at a time in your life that felt really dark. The fourth house is a dark house. It's a water house. Doesn't mean dark in the sense of negative, but it talks about concealment. It talks about what happens when you're by yourself and when you're in the most enclosed space in your life. So that could be, of course, just your home, but whatever that is for you, however that applies. And basically like your own private space and bubble. So you might have been in this. I mean, we've all sort of recently been in an enforced bubble mode and a time for at least a year and a half, right? So maybe during that time that shall not be spoken about, you've discovered this higher spiritual truth that maybe changed your outlook on something. Maybe you're thinking of changing your job as well completely. Maybe you've already started thinking about how to do that so that you align to this thing that really feels more connected to your higher self, your highest purpose in this life. And you also, so from this entire experience that you've had where you've connected to this, what feels like a higher purpose and like a more high vibrational way of viewing the world, of conceptualizing truth and everything around you, you've gathered the key and the necessary wisdom here with the Elder card to also teach others how to do this. So self-therapy turning into therapy, like inner insights and spiritual wisdom that you receive in your own, like when you're just by yourself, becoming something that you feel you should also share with the world. So definitely some really spiritually minded, very, very elevated people who are watching this pile. So with the card that signifies your potential challenge here is we have Storm Angel, collision of beliefs, styles, attitudes, energies. So wow, yeah, exactly, collision of beliefs. So this might apply to the people around you that maybe you've disconnected from, or that you feel you're going to have to disconnect from if you embark on this path, or simply you might be someone who has just different understandings of the world, different spiritual beliefs, or who simply changed. What I'm seeing every single time I see electrical energy of this kind, so thunder, I always think of Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of change. It's the planet of innovation as well, and of the unexpected. And it's really funny because this reminds me, maybe this is too like personal and specific, and it's really weird, but when I was doing astrocartography, which is when you look at a map and you see which lines go by which places. So when I moved to the place where I'm at right now for my graduate studies, I wanted to see, like, I went through exactly sort of like what is narrated here, which is funny. And I was in a very Imum Coeli fourth house place where I've sort of maybe received lots of these spiritual downloads, where I learned how to read tarot, astrology anyway. But basically what that line told me, that astrological line going closest to this place, was that you will become like some sort of psychic person, and you will also become an anarchist too. So not that that happened, but basically the connection of those 2 points, like once you become spiritually awakened or enlightened, or you discover some sort of higher understanding that you have of the world and of your beliefs, your own beliefs, you also feel a little bit lonely or disconnected from others potentially, because you're wondering who shares my belief system, who is capable of aligning with me, who can work with me. So you might feel a little bit pressured or challenged by the fact that you are doing all of this stuff by yourself, but that is part of your purpose, is to connect like as deeply as possible to your own energy and to your own understanding of this, because that specific unique understanding and spiritual truth that you are able to download and understand is what you're meant to share with the world. Okay, so let's talk about this card, because I feel like this gives you some hopeful message about what guidance is available to you and what connection around you is available to you, despite you potentially feeling a little bit lonely like this. So this is 25, so let's see if any significant numbers. 25 adds up to 7, so that talks about significant relationships. And lately, every time I've been describing the 7th house in astrology, I've also been including mentorships as really important. It's, you know, the 7th house is talked about as like contractual relationships, like romantic relationships, business partnerships, but I also would add like mentorships to that. So this is an important thing. So let's see. It is highly unlikely that a literal, experienced tribal elder will step forward in garb of feather and bone to guide you today. Though such beings can appear in vision and in disguise. As shapeshifters, they can become almost anyone. So while it might seem that there is no witch with her cauldron or transformation at the ready, no green man to take you into the deep beneath of the underworld and help you to be reborn, there are ancient ones who are ready to teach you the deep knowledge of the planet and her oceans, and they come to you in many ways. At this time, it is the turtles who will speak with you, letting you know of your very old soul, and whispering words that reawaken knowledge that is deep in the blood and the bones of the mother's seas. The goddess Sedna may also be speaking to you of her journey from a victim to a being who gave the gift of creation to the creatures of the deep oceans. Her pain was transformed, and with this new knowledge, you too will transform your wounds and losses into wonders, knowledge, and imaginations that bring you closer to the true reality we all live in as the world changes again. So that's really beautiful, and I think this the energy of Sedna, I was reading about Sedna's, who's it's a planet like beyond Pluto. It's, I mean, not a planet, but a smaller object that's actually kind of big, right? Actually, almost the same size as Pluto. So I forgot what equivalent she was. She was like the equivalent of a masculine, like actual planet, maybe Mars, or maybe related to Chiron in some way. But this, in any case, talks about healing, and maybe Chiron is important for you. You might have an important Chiron placement, like in your first house, which signifies like literally being a therapist, being someone who helps others understand themselves and gather insight about their own inner world, so that then they're able to heal and then be kinder humans and make the world a better place and contribute to a more truthful reality. And to the construction and perpetuation of a better reality in all senses of it, not just conceptually, but also therefore like through relationships and also materially. So yeah, with the signs that you might be getting, let's see if there are any important numbers here. 3 and 5, that's going to be 8. So I'm not sensing anything specifically yet. Not really, but with the Ace of Swords, yeah, you already have the signs from within, and that's a message that came through in the first pile as well. So all you really need is your inner conviction, and you know, these potentially connecting to some of these like more esoteric guides who can help you through meditations, through guided meditations even. That's going to be reassuring, but you are a really powerful spiritual guide already, even if you think that, like I was getting that message initially of like you think you're too like new in this area, or too young or too inexperienced in order to really call yourself that, or in order to acknowledge that about yourself. You're not. You have, yeah, I mean, this really speaks about like maybe even like a spiritual warrior or someone like that, like a true light worker. Like, yeah, people who are watching this pile are light workers. The end. I'm absolutely getting that. So let's see, let's pull some more tarot to get any more information that we need about this path, where you're aligning to your greatest abundance and wealth. So we've talked about so many spiritual matters. So where is, you know, the talk of money and finances? So let's see, 3 of Swords. Okay, we're getting, and I mean, this is funny, like, okay, because I did ask the question of money, but like, I don't know, I saw like a meme the other day that was, you're thinking like, it was a picture of Lana Del Rey, singer, and it basically said like something about like turning your deep depression and tears into money or something. And she has this, I forgot which song basically was had this exact theme. Not that it matters. Well, she does have a song called Money, Power, Glory. Check it out if you're interested. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about music here. But basically, I mean, I'm trying to be a little funny, but with the 3 of Swords coming up there and the 4 of Pentacles, yeah, you quite literally, like, if you did go through this awakening as a result of some sort of heartbreak or some sort of difficult relationship in your life or some sort of huge loss, then, you know, obviously those things are a thing in their own right, and experiences like that can never really be quantified or priceless in that sense, but the stuff that results out of that is exactly what's going to bring you not just closer to fulfilling your spiritual truth and to being a light worker who improves the world, but also who gets closer to material channel of wealth. Like you could now, with all of these skills that you have already gained and that you could further develop by making this spiritual element in your life into your literal routine and job, you have, you know, basically the narrative technically would be that you turned your pain into money. Three of Swords to Four of Pentacles, but of course at the higher spiritual level, this talks about being able to have as much as you need and to be prosperous and abundant and to feel like wealthy and like everything that you need is taken care of and you're comfortable living a cozy life there. It's making me think of that with the fourth house, but you're literally doing all of this spiritually high-minded work and improving the world at the same time. So that's a sort of perfect message for the prompt that I set out as I was, you know, preparing this reading. Okay, Page of Swords, okay, Page of Cups, Seven of Cups, coming up back again. Children might be important because we got two pages in a row for you, or working with inner child healing. This could be like one of your specialties if you are a light worker or someone who's very spiritually connected here. Obviously you all are who are watching this pile. And the Six of Pentacles, beautiful. It's exactly what this is talking about. Nice. And the Hierophant, yep. The Hierophant talks about literally being a spiritual leader in this context, although it also talks about conventions. And this goes back to the message from this card, the challenges that you might potentially face as you fully embrace this path. We do have the Seven of Cups, which talks about not being sure about this, you know, potentially second guessing yourself and asking yourself like whether you are actually just completely disillusioned and you are literally kidding yourself and in fantasy la la land when you imagine that you could gain success and money from this path that feels so esoteric and so like mystical and potentially so like rootless, out of any sort of material setting. And because we also have Uranus energy that I'm kind of associated with that card, you could be able to accomplish setting up this job, this business totally online, and that might feel a little bit daunting too because you're wondering like where is the actual material root of it, but this tells you with the Four of Pentacles that this can also turn into a physical institution later in your life with the with the Hierophant there, which talks about institutions. So you could maybe start off as like either a tarot reader or like a therapist or some sort of healer or some sort of light work or some sort of guide online, and then maybe you literally get your own like therapy practice or something like this. With the Two of Swords there, yeah, there was a challenge obviously in your life through a relationship that really hurt you that completely just, yeah, it challenged your viewpoint. There was something there that something that has to do with like, okay, there was a clash between what you discovered to be spiritual truth and the way that most of the world functions and moves, and this caused some sort of, yeah, detachment from the world. With the Four of Pentacles being coming up as clarified by the Seven of Wands, this might have caused you to close off and to go into that full hermit mode and to not want to connect with people as much. So the Page of Swords there, it's talking about sort of, okay, with the King of Swords too, going into that, okay, weird sort of message. You're very sensitive, incredibly sensitive, and you notice like the microaggressions around you from people, and you notice and you understand that microaggressions turn into institutionalized evil. Okay, that's a very intense message, but that's what's coming up. And like the small things, like you could just work to improve the world through just tending to, like, you know, if it is like individual therapy by just one-on-one sort of stuff with people, that then improves the larger context of the world, even though it might feel like a thankless task, even though it might feel like it's just, how could you possibly improve the world by like working at this like microscopic emotional level with people. But that tells you, with the progression from the Page of Swords to the King of Swords, tells you that this is exactly how this is done, and that you have a specific talent for exactly this, and that you're meant to work at this. Like, I'm also getting, wow, with the storm angel, like earth angel energy for you. This is crazy. I've never gotten such an elevated kind of like group of souls in one pile, but this exactly with the Ace of Swords, storm angel, and this talks about like almost like as this divine being, you coming down to earth and basically just sort of like gracing the world with your presence and your support, which might feel like you might feel like you're totally powerless, but you're not. You are providing to everyone's reconnection to this pure energy of unconditional love within them that then therefore makes the world such a better place. So with the lovers, yeah, many things could come up with that. An extra message that I'm getting is that you might have always been alone in your life. Like you might have felt that you were not able to connect in a partnership, like in a life partnership, specifically a romantic one, to others because you were so different, because specifically after this change that you've experienced, you got, you know, you went into this cocoon, you became a little bit like, yeah, like this armadillo and the Seven of Swords, I mean, Seven of Wands. Okay, Seven of Swords came up as a sort of Freudian slip there. But the armadillo, you know, he's a very shielded animal, and that's what the Seven of Wands talks about. But shielding your own spiritual belief system and sort of feeling like you have to defend that, or you have to basically win the right to speak that, or you feel like others might not understand. But what I'm sensing is that that might have also originated from a significant romantic connection that changed you, or that was like a sort of catalyst for you. Potentially some of you might be on like a twin flame journey, and this is quite rare. So if you are hearing about this term right now, don't worry about it. But if you resonate with that and you know who you are, then this could really just be a further confirmation of that. Okay, so with the Seven of Cups, Knight of Pentacles, I'm not sure exactly what that talks about, but with the Six of Pentacles and Judgment, yeah, interesting here. I was saying that there might be some sort of confusion in you second-guessing yourself and thinking that maybe this entire thing is like a crazy illusion you've made up in your mind. This is telling you that it is not, because the Knight of Pentacles is like the most practical of all the knights and even of all the cards. Like one of my favorite tarot readers, Gemma at Gemstone Tarot, she has this funny Knight of Pentacles voice that she does, where basically she's like talking about this card as like someone who's very boring and obvious and clear and like super straightforward. So like literally your spirit guides are telling you like maybe you're going to see signs and that are so literal that show you that this is real, and trust them, because you're going to get increasingly more of these signs in order to get you really just, you know, to encourage you to fully embrace this path. And here is our Six of Pentacles card, the return of the money motif, which, you know, we're asking about anyway, but other stuff's coming up. Which talks about you being recognized for your soul's integrity and for the depth of what you have to provide for the world, not just in a sort of conceptual way, but materially. And you do have a spirit team, and the spirit team might literally like come down through other people in a similar way to you, or simply this talks about you just coming into contact with your soul tribe on earth as well. But of course, Six of Pentacles talks about you give the same as you receive. Although, yeah, sometimes, usually it talks about like receiving some sort of gift, charity, things of this sort, like small money gifts or unexpected income. But maybe really what this is talking about, actually, this thing that you never in good faith could have thought would bring you money, but that was maybe like a pipe dream or something, is exactly the thing that's going to bring you money. Because with the Judgment card, this is really significant. This is your soul purpose, which literally your spirit team has made sure is going to be also the thing that brings you stability and money. And an added theme for you that just came up extra, right, is also your fated partnership in life, if this is not already the case for you. Specifically this, I'm getting romantic, because you got the Two of Cups and the Lovers, and there was that message there about like a catalyst and potentially a twin flame. Okay, so let's get another sort of final message for you, and then a magic card. Oopsies. So what else do you need to know? one card, please. That one. Okay. My high vibe thoughts create health in my body, peace in my mind, and love in my heart. Nice. And I feel like that's what you're also providing for the world. Okay, and sun. The golden energy of the sun brings fame and fortune. Amazing. So you could literally be famous and rich out of because of your skills and your accomplishments as a spiritual guide. So this is what's meant for you, what I'm sensing, pile number 2. So I hope that some of this resonated. I would love to hear your stories and comments down below. And I do have an Etsy also for personal readings. Take a look at that if you're interested. I do lots of astrological stuff as well as personal tarot readings. And then, yeah, I would really appreciate your likes, shares, subscribes. And I hope you have a magical day. And I hope to see you back here some other time. Bye. So hi everyone who picked the 3rd card as well as the Malachite. So let's see what your path to greatest prosperity and abundance will look like. So the first 2 cards will signify you. So what are you channeling? Whether this is an archetype within yourself, a skill set, talent, and any sort of technique or channel for it. And then the energy through which this will be unfolding and aligning to this experience of wealth and abundance and prosperity. Then a card that signifies your guidance around you. So the sort of encouraging energies and experiences you will have. Then a card for challenges, potential challenges, and then a card that signifies the guidance that you will be getting that tells you that you are aligning to this path that will bring you greatest abundance and joy. Okay, so Dilettante is the card that talks about you and signifies you. So already I'm getting artistic energy, and this says delights in the arts without having to be a professional. Alerts you to the danger of becoming superficial in your pursuits. So as a musician who studied music history quite significantly, this brings to mind lots of figures specifically from the 18th century for some reason, but which talk about basically nobles who had so much time on their hands, so much money that they could do whatever they wanted, and including and especially playing music and making art and learning for the sake of learning. And that's also indicated here in the 11th house, which for some reason is making me think of just higher conceptualizing. In this context, it does represent Aquarius energy. It says friends here, but it's also about collective energies, so maybe collective lessons and working in order to understand how the world works, which is a very sort of like high-minded, very kind of maybe even like ivory tower kind of energy. So I'm sensing like already for you, like you have the ability to do whatever you want in your life and you will be financially provided for. So we'll see how this unfolds for you, but this could literally have to do with you're going to get so much money, you're going to somehow, we'll see how, that you have the opportunity to do literally whatever you want and to choose to not even work at all, to just maybe even be an art collector. Of course, this could also talk about working in the art business, working in a gallery, or working in museums as well. This could also talk about like being a dealer of some kind, not just artistically, but in other ways, and of kind of plugging into a network of other people who share your interests, basically, because we're back to this 11th house thing. So connecting with others who have the same interests as you might bring you into connections and into just alignments with others who might be able to provide the necessary clues as to where you have to go next in order to be able to practice what you want, whether this is art, whether this is some sort of like institutionalized aspect of that, where you're working with other artists, whether that is your like one of them or not. And the ascendant, I mean, this is, I'm getting lots of Leo energy from both of these for some reason, because I'm sensing like lots of solar energy here. But also just the yellow, which reminds me of the solar plexus. But in any case, the ascendant, for some reason, I'm just thinking like it says entrance, which really feels very kind of glamorous and kind of in your face a little bit. So this is just making me think of like, just by being who you are, by just existing in the world, emerging in the world, like on some sort of maybe even stage, if you're an artist or performer, like you get recognized automatically for it. Like it's just making me think of that for some reason. Like you, by just being you, you have enough money and support and financial assistance. This could also talk potentially of some kind of partnership that you come into, because we have the networking energy of the 11th house that then provides you through some sort of shared assets, which also is indicated here in this card. Like all of the necessary structures and financial abundance that you need in order to just do exactly what you want. And to, I'm just looking out, there's a bee in this room right now. I think a bee just entered the room. That's okay. You have enough money, maybe even from this partnership, that you can just enjoy life and the bounty that it has to offer, and aesthetics are really important to you. So this could also just talk about you being basically rewarded for your beauty in some sort of way, or for your skills, for your glamour as well, and for your ability to hold people's attention with your presence, simply with your presence. So lots of things coming up here. But this card says strange companions in stranger places. So this is a perfect kind of combination of cards. This talks about Aquarius energy, which talks about people who are unique and very potentially rebellious and nonconformist, as well as maybe potentially like social activists, things of this sort. So lots of things indicated that are coming up. Like it could be just in the fundraising business as well, or yeah, maybe some sort of activist where you literally have so much prosperity around you that you're capable of simply devoting your energy to whatever it is you want, whether it's art, whether it is helping others actively in some sort of way, whether making the society a better place, because that is what the 11th house is about. It's about collective energies and it's about humanitarianism. So all of these are indicated here. Potential challenge is indicated by this card, Sea Beacon Fairy, guidance, but where will it lead you? Okay, so you might be sort of in an energy that is similar to this right now. You might be wondering like if you are meant to do something more. So for some of you, I'm feeling like you're already sort of here. For others, that is not the case. So you might be wondering like, when are you going to find that thing that brings you closer to either your purpose, because we're, you know, channeling that as well here, but also your greatest access to wealth and abundance. So you might be sort of on your way, but not sure about it. With these lanterns here, it's also giving me kind of hermit energy and looking within yourself. But I feel like actually for you, the 3 indicated here, the 11th house, this card signifies about like coming to this understanding and to this conclusion as to which things will bring you closer to this reality we're talking about here, by talking to others, to chatting with friends, getting some sort of idea, some sort of validation, confirmation from those around you. So the signs that you're going to be receiving as you set out on this path are represented by the Hanged Man, which is really weird because actually these cards are very connected, I think. So maybe you're going to come into alignment with the right people, and therefore with the wealth that you were so destined to have, and that brings you lots of flexibility as to what you do with your time and with your job, and with connecting with others and maybe helping the world as well. After a period that feels very confusing, very suspended, very like in the dark, just like this. Like if you are feeling confused, this is a good sign. If you are not sure where you're going, great. This means that you are close to figuring this out. So let's see what the supportive, more concrete kind of guidance around you says. So 28 adds up to 10, which reduces to 1 and talks about leadership and making a really big change in the world. Okay, so message: challenges, use your imagination. Interesting. So maybe you're in this place that's challenging and you're not sure at all what to do with it. And this sort of reminds me of Pisces energy. So lots of Aquarius, Pisces, and Leo energy indicated in this reading. And this talks about Pisces energy is about fantasy, and it's about art and dreamscapes and dreamlands. And so that could go down the route of confusion and nightmares, but it could also go down this route where you come up with a beautiful genius idea that unlocks these doors for you that may feel closed, or you might feel like there is no door, like you're just kind of going out there and looking through the fog and like you're trying to find the door. Okay, so one of the great wise shape-shifting animals is the fairy tale being. These beautiful creatures are full of complexities, and they travel through perils and uncertainties, following their own journeys until they have learned a bright lesson about life, surviving, and becoming oneself. Sometimes we forget, with all of their sweetness and beauty, the powerful journeys beings like Snow White and Alice in Wonderland take. And even after their well-known journeys are complete, they often have to take new journeys, ones we never hear of. In this card, two beings you probably know well now have a new adventure. They have been heroic separately in the past, and they will be heroic together now with the help of their animal companions and allies, their wits, their lessons from other journeys, and their newfound friendships, even in those odd surroundings. They never expected this to happen, but neither did you. Your own fairy tale adventure, dramatic, dark, shadowy, and wild, is about to begin in an unknown world. Embrace this great adventure. You have help and enough imagination, daring, and brilliance to pass every test. So lots of stuff coming up for me here. Theater might be important for you. Something that has to do with performance, with like maybe writing your own plays, scripts, movies. This could also be indicated like what I was also getting here, like lots of like kind of movie star energy, maybe Hollywood, things of this sort. Like if you've been thinking about just trying it out to see if you can make it big, you're going to be surprised by how much success you're going to have through just serendipities and things aligning for you, because you're destined to have this lifestyle that is just very not necessarily like glamorous and flashy, but just where you are known for your unique essence and literally make money off of that essence and that unique element that is just you, and that is so beautiful, but also that somehow contributes to the betterment of the world. This is a big theme in this reading overall, like every deck has had that so far. So you're like, okay, when this happens, you're going to be looking back at this time and you're not going to believe all of the changes that took place. Like it's going to be sort of just like your mind is going to be blown by how this actually pans out in your life. If you're thinking now like, oh, there's no way I can be like famous, there's no way I can be, because that's indicated there also with the Leo energy that I'm sensing in the ascendant. Like Leo ascendants might be people who are watching this, so further confirmation for you. Yeah, you're going to be like kind of, you know, if you're wondering now, how could I possibly be famous? How could I possibly be well known? How could I possibly just have so much money and wealth that I can just do whatever I want, including like to have as much extra money as to be like a humanitarian? All of this is going to happen somehow. I'm just going to tell you, it's a very clear reading, and it's a very sort of amazing kind of magical energy. Like, yeah, I'm getting like sort of almost magical to the point of absurdity, kind of like fairy tale energy. Like you're gonna kind of fall down some sort of rabbit hole. That's exactly what this is. If you're feeling confused now, go to the next step and fall completely down that rabbit hole and see where it takes you, because you are being really guided and encouraged to do this. And I'm feeling also that, you know, if maybe some of these adventures that you're going through feel a little bit risky or crazy, you're really protected, because whenever solar energy shows up like this, talks about you being highly protected. Also there with the lanterns, you have this guide specifically, and with the message there that you have strange companions in stranger places. Like it's just getting me like vibes of like about quests, like whether hobbits or whether like for some reason I'm also thinking about like the show Once Upon a Time and all of the crazy sort of quests that took place in that show, where you had like every possible character ever. So eclecticism coming up. You might be very eclectic in the way that you dress, or just your friends might also be very, very different from each other. Like you might just have an extremely diverse group of friends that's not connected at all, but that's great, because you're the connective tissue there, and you're meant to be this person who connects others. Back to the 11th house message through just like, I'm also just with back to the dilettante message, like being some sort of host in like an artistic salon or an artistic space where you just literally like invite people for gatherings to have fun and to look at art and to But at the same time, art can be used as a channel for great social change. Of course, it also needs money to sustain itself. So all of these themes are coming up together here. So King of Wands, King of Swords. Okay, so potentially a masculine figure there. With this is further confirmation of Leo energy, of course, but potentially some sort of masculine figure. And this could be regardless of gender, of course, who gives you some sort of income that you need. Oh, Chariot. Victory, recognition, as if it wasn't already really clear for you, and two paths potentially for you that are available. Both are guaranteed to have success in all of these senses that we've discussed. With the King of Swords there, I don't know what that is about. Okay, the Four of Pentacles. What else? Whoa. Okay. Queen of Swords. And the Three of Wands. Yeah, the energy of waiting and to see and of seeing where you are aligning. Okay, wow. So we have two full couples in the suits. We have the King of Wands, we have the Queen of Wands here. Interesting. And then we also have the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords. So this really talks about, well, in general, what I'm feeling is like power couple energy. Especially if you have like, placements in Leo would do that. Juno in Leo specifically. I was just meditating on Juno and Leo lately for some astrology readings. And that talks about like literally needing to connect to your partner through art and through some sort of experience that makes you feel like you are creating something together that is powerful and potentially world changing. And maybe you're waiting for these connections, for this partnership, for these multiple partnerships that allow you to feel as supported and as confident as to do this. But this is telling you that you already have all of the confidence and the charisma, really big keyword for you all here, necessary within you right now with the Chariot. And you might be sort of like keeping it to yourself because you aren't sure whether this is something that you're meant to really do, although you deep down I feel like you are really confident. But this also talks about like shielding what is most sacred about you and not like, it's a sort of warning against like selling out. So waiting for the right connections with the Three of Wands here that can give you the right wisdom to embark on this journey in the way that is the most elevated possible. So yeah, with the way that the King and the Queen of Swords is are positioned, it's making me like they're sort of forming this kind of archway of protection. So going back to that message from that card there, that you're protected and you're guided. And if you haven't met these people, if you're in this period of suspension and confusion, know that they are coming your way. So let's get some clarification messages. Don't know which one that was for, so let's just keep shuffling. But I will note that it was the High Priestess, which talks about higher spiritual guidance and your higher self. Okay, just gonna take that for the first one. Okay, Eight of Cups. Okay, interesting. What is that about? Turning away from something in the past or someone. Yeah, maybe there's something there about like that masculine energy. Wow, a King of Swords. I cannot believe this. Clarified by King of Swords. Are you serious? Okay, so air energy would be could be really important, like Aquarius, potentially Libra and Gemini, potentially, especially like if it's someone of masculine energy. But also just someone who has really like lots of authority and power within this field that you are asking about, or that might be important for you, like art, fundraising, museums, theater, like lots of different things came up. A lot of stuff. So music too. So okay, the High Priestess is back. The Tower in reverse. Interesting. What is this about? Let's see. I don't know what this is talking about, but I really want to get some clarity. And the Eight of Pentacles. Okay, so a few things. The Eight of Pentacles in reverse, you might not be working right now, or you might not want to work because you're not sure if this is the right field or the right area. You might have been fired with the Tower here from your job, and maybe that's where you're in this state of suspension. And this is making you sort of save up more right now, or you want to save for a rainy day because you're unsure how this is going to go. But with the High Priestess here, there is something like, yes, you're meant to wait a little bit right now, and maybe being frugal at this exact moment is good. But there's some sort of guidance that's going to come your way, first of all, like just intuitively, like we've already been talking about, that's going to give you the right idea. It's all about ideas here. Genius, brilliance, all of this stuff came up. That's going to tell you which direction to go in now, because you're torn potentially between two paths at the moment. And each of them will lead to meeting a person that is significant, and then will give you some sort of encouragement and some sort of tool, as well as just, you know, the right kind of network to plug into, so that you come to this place where you're being rewarded and you're not just recognized for your talents and for your uniqueness, and be, you know, you're given all of this freedom to do whatever you want, but you're also getting financial rewards for it. So this desire to be potentially famous or well known is aligning with your desire to be wealthy, but also to be so wealthy that you're able to give back to the world, because the Six of Pentacles talks about charity. So there are two paths to getting here, and one is connecting to someone who is a little bit more spiritually minded and who gives you kind of more of that sort of guidance and energy, and one is a path that takes you to someone who's a little bit more ruthless and potentially like cold seeming, but who has your best interest in mind, and who makes up for someone who potentially like left you in the dust, or maybe promised to be a guide for you and to be a really supportive person, but who actually just walked away and did not fulfill that promise. So sort of a weird message there, but that's what I'm sensing. And at the bottom of this deck, there is the Knight of Cups. So lots of people showing up, first of all. I mean, we have two kings, two queens, a knight, we have the High Priestess, we have lots of people coming up. So that's really talking exactly about the 11th house, which is that it takes sort of a village to create something, including careers, including, especially for you, people are so important, and your job will involve connecting with lots of them, even if that job is just being as rich as to do whatever the heck you want. So that's awesome. You're going to receive this offer. There are two paths, equally viable, that lead to an equally fulfilling new reality that you're capable of getting. But right now it feels suspended, like you don't have any offers, like you're not sure what to do, what to invest your energy into. I feel like I should get one more card about this Four of Pentacles in the Tower. What really is this about? Because I'm not sure. Because he's holding this pentacle very tightly there, this little armadillo. And the Towers, if it was upright, I would know what that means, but because it's reversed. Okay, the Queen of Wands again. I can't. This is what is, and the Three of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Okay, so after, okay, right now maybe it feels like something is about to happen, like intuitively you feel like something is about to change, but you're not sure when it's going to happen. If you're in the state of suspension, once again, if you're in a state of fog, of confusion, this is a good sign. You're almost there. This period of waiting is almost over, and immediately almost these people are going to start popping up, and these connections that are necessary for you to align to this path of greatest wealth and recognition and abundance are going to be coming up really soon now. Okay, so yeah, this is just a beautiful confirmation of all of this. So let's see what's the final, what else should you know? Also, just like you might be dealing with lots of theatrical people, with people who have lots of strong lots of people with strong personalities here. Sometimes this might be challenging, but some of them, you know, might feel a little bit ruthless, or they might feel like they only have their own interest in mind. But there are specifically two people, maybe even three actually, who really want to support you. Potentially like two people are in competition with you, and 2 to 3 people really want to help you. Okay. Okay, let's get one card specifically. All right. So my genuine desire to serve clears the path for me to step into my purpose. So back to that message of like, you want to be so wealthy, so abundant, so creatively fulfilled, so on, that you can also give back to the world. So that's a beautiful desire and intention to have, because you're going to get rewarded for that and for wanting to align your experience of fulfillment with that of service. So let's get one more message from this magic deck. That one. Okay, I knew this was going to come up. I should have said it. Why don't I just say these things? One enchanted evening, the perfect night. Okay, so this talks about like event planning, which might be important for some of you from some of the like fields that came up here and some of the career paths. This talks about one really like important night of like networking, or just some sort of important gathering, some sort of like meet and greet, things of the sort. And just, yes, people are super important to you. This is all about you connecting to the right people and like standing out in the crowd. Like that's going to happen like automatically by just you being you. So things are being aligned for you, and it's like basically like destiny that's at play here. You really cannot calculate it. So you're gonna know like this everything is gonna be taken care of for you, so that you meet the right people and have these two paths, both equally viable to your greatest success and abundance available to you. And it's gonna come through some sort of like, I'm getting like 5th house energies here, as well as 3rd house energies. So things like at a performance, at a show, out of some sort of networking event, some sort of like a job event even, but I'm getting more that it's a sort of artistic, creative event with lots of different people with strong personalities around. So if that sounds like what you might have coming up, great. If not, if you're in this fog of confusion and you're not even sure how the heck you're going to get to the other side, to this reality that sounds totally different, that's awesome, because it's going to happen anyway. You don't need to know right now. You're in a state of waiting, but you're guided spiritually to align to this. So it's going to happen for you. Awesome. So that's what I have for you, card number 3. I hope that some of this resonated and that you've enjoyed this reading, and I would love to hear your stories about it, your comments. I would appreciate your likes, shares, subscribes, things of this sort. I also have an Etsy for personal readings, so check that out if you feel like it. I have things like astrology readings, birth charts, solar returns, synastry readings, and shorter readings that are just tarot based. So yeah, I hope you have a magical time, and maybe see you back here some other time. Bye. So hi everyone who picked the 4th card as well as the Goldstone. So let's see what your path to greatest prosperity and abundance looks like. And the first 2 oracle cards will signify your energy. So the archetype, as this card says, that you will be channeling, the talents, the skills that you will be using in order to make this happen, as well as the energies of the techniques and the methods that you're using to make this come into the world and to align you, therefore, to that path of greatest abundance. This signifies the energy of your journey towards that reality. This is the card that will talk about the forces that will be helping you and guiding you. And this is the card that signifies challenges potentially on this path. And then this will talk about the signs that you will be getting once you are aligned to this path, even if it is just the first few steps of you going down this path into this higher journey in reality. Okay, so you are coming through as the mediator. So this says, the gift for negotiating fairness and strategy in personal and professional life, respect for both sides of an argument. So what I'm already seeing here, this person is holding the hands of 2 other people, but they are not facing the same direction. So this makes me think of the Justice card and the tarot, and already just from the mediator, this energy of networking and of talking to other people and of using fairness specifically in strategy is making me think of Libra, of course. And yeah, law could be something that you might be called to go into, or anything that has to do with like potentially accounting as well. I'm seeing But in general, you are meant to work with other people, and specifically with other people's resources. It is so clear the way that it is coming across in this reading. The 8th house, it says mystery here, but this also talks about the resources that come from other people, other sources in general, whether it is shared income from relationships, from marriage, or your inheritance. So you might be actually coming into some sort of inheritance during this time. Because the 2nd house is also here. Actually, what we're getting is the full 2nd to 8th house axis here, and because these are always going to be opposite in any given chart, and this is the channel that you are working with, right? And this is the technique that is represented, that you as this mediator, as this very Libran person, as this judge, potentially as this maybe someone who works with other people's money, is using in order to make this happen. So this also brings to mind, for some reason, the nodal axis. So check to see if you have any important Taurus placements, Scorpio placements, first of all, or check to see where your nodal axis is. And this is telling me also that your 2nd house and your 8th house, the signs associated with them, and therefore the planets associated with them, will give you a further clue as to where this energy that will be bringing you, and these talents and skills that you have, that will be bringing you closer to your path of greatest abundance and prosperity, or sort of hiding. And I use hiding because the 8th house also talks about things that are hidden, more mysterious, more unseen. So lots of things coming through, as you can see. But for example, if you had, let's say, if your 2nd house was in Libra, because we're just getting Libra energy here, that would mean that the planet that rules over your 2nd house is Venus, and Venus is associated with love and relationships, but also with art. So potentially art could be something that gives you a channel for income. Other things are possible there, like beauty, like anything that has to do with beauty, even like aesthetic surgery, things of this sort, like those could be associated with Venus as well. So lots of possibility. That's just one example. So check out just the signs, and therefore the planets that rule over your 2nd and 8th house, and check out your nodes as well, because just because I'm getting this opposition right now, it's also bringing up, although this reading is timeless, it's bringing up the nodal axis of Taurus versus Scorpio at the moment, which talks about people really wanting to align exactly to, you know, what this reading is about, their path of greatest prosperity and abundance, and to make sure that they have security around them. Okay, so the 8th house, though, is about you handling, like, you know, there's lots of jewels here, so that makes me think of inheritance with the skull and all of that, things we already know about the 8th house. But it's like you working with things that you don't fully understand too. For some reason, that's also coming up, and this could be unfolding spiritually or materially. Like you don't fully understand, like exactly, like you don't know the backstory or everything about like the stuff that you are coming into contact with every day as the materials that you work with at your job, but you are still working with them in a way that's very competent and very brilliant. So that could be, you know, you sort of like work with other people's money, but you don't really know the people. That's one way to think about it. But the more esoteric side of the 8th house, which is also coming up here, especially because we have this card signifying challenges here that also mirrors this one, and it says death in the maiden, invasion, boundaries violated, dominance. So you might be dealing with lots of dominant people. You might be kind of like this sort of like, weird messages coming through, lots of things as usual at the same time. But if you are working with the more esoteric aspects of the 8th house, so things to do with the occult, with magic, even with astrology, there's a message here about like knowing, about discerning which path will lead you down a sort of potentially dangerous route, and which path will lead you to the light, and therefore to a reality where you're also making money out of that in a way that's not requiring you to like sell your soul or anything like that, and that's not putting you in any sort of real psychic danger, because the 8th house could also talk about things like psychic attacks and energy vampires, and it's a channeling house. Lots of mediums and people with medium heavy energy have placements in the 8th house, or Scorpio placements, so absorbing energy, channeling in general, that's that more spiritual side of the 8th house. So just being really careful, and also doing things like setting like if you're doing any spells, like boundaries around them, but in general with like any sort of astral travel, channeling, mediumship, things of this sort, being really careful when it comes to protecting yourself. If you were doing the more Taurus side of that axis, and the financial, channeling into the financial aspect of the 8th house, then just being really careful who you share information with, as well as not listening to any sort of false promises about like what you could get. Like I'm hearing for some reason like things on the side, like if someone's trying to ask you to do a job for them and promises you something outside of what's like institutionally recognized as okay and appropriate, don't listen to that. Like if someone, you know, at your job, which is, you know, it happens in a specific building and there are certain protocols associated with it. If someone tries to do something like kind of on the outskirts of that, or in a way that's not fully approved by that institution, like tries to get you to do that job that same way, but like for them in a different way, then be mindful of that, because that's not a good energy. Okay, so yeah, lots of things coming up here. Yep, law, finances, you know, accountantship, astrology, occult. So lots of potential things. It could also be, of course, a combination of these things. As I've said in the intro of the reading, you could have multiple channels for aligning to this reality that is abundant and beautiful. So with the 2nd house, you have lots of resources that are available to you already. Maybe you have a savings account that you've invested in for quite a while. This also talks about just investment in general, also potentially cryptocurrency, because that has been a big theme lately. But also, yep, going back to this card, not listening to any sort of get rich overnight kind of promises from whether it's individuals or institutions, and making sure that you are not gambling. There's a really fine line sometimes between investment and gambling. Okay, so what is a card that talks about support? Let's read some from this. So this is Mermaid in a Koi Pond. Rediscover your individuality, become the dragon. And I think this relates to this card here. So I did each of these readings a little bit differently, read each card as sort of almost in a different order, but let's see what this one talks about, because I think that maybe there was a relationship in the past. That was a sort of side message that I was getting, where, yeah, actually what I'm hearing is that a lot of what you consider to be your greatest assets in terms of skills and talents right now, you've maybe earned as a result of specific relationship trauma. Like maybe you are a really good mediator. You were like literally an interlocutor of the highest order now, potentially even like therapist level, like because you were in a relationship that was abusive when it came to like your boundaries not being respected. So through those difficult relationships and trials that you've experienced, you've gathered these skills that are now actually really amazing, and you consider them to be, or maybe you don't consider them to be really good, but they're actually really significant assets that you could tap into a little bit more and literally use in a more institutionalized sense to get actual money from those skills that you've learned, that you've gathered in a traumatic experience, potentially relationship, or just through a sort of 8th house moment. And the 8th house is also associated with transformation and with a change in outlook, or a change in yourself as well that you've experienced. So think of the one or the several big changes in your life, or just updates, or kind of, just transformations that you've experienced, and what changed in those moments. What did you discover about yourself? Tap into those discoveries more, maybe do a little bit more journaling, more reflection on those things, and see what sort of asset there is overlooked. So let's read from this card here. This is number 41, so adds up to 5, and that signifies change. So in order to come into alignment to this highest available path that will lead you to wealth and abundance of all kinds, both spiritual and material, there needs to come some sort of change still. You are not fully there yet, because as usual, when so much 8th house energy comes up, things are still concealed a little bit. Some things are still like almost, they're not fully graspable. So there needs to be more digging, as well as more surrendering to these. Yeah, and exactly that's what we're getting from the 4 of Swords card. More of a surrender to this, to opening up yourself as a channel to receiving more and therefore understanding more deeply this energy, which sometimes is hard to read. But also with the Four of Swords, this once again talks about being safe while you do these sort of things. Like if you are doing like astral travel, meditations, even like past life regression, things of this sort, making sure that someone is there, maybe like to wake you up, things of this sort, that you have protective stones around you, etc. Also, I'm hearing like a very more obvious message about like locking your doors at night while you're in such a meditative state, things of this sort. So let's read from this card. This says, this mermaid has journeyed to an in-between place, a place where she could be safe for a time. But while she grew safe and while she basked in the comfort of warm waters and plenty of food, she forgot her quest and began to lose herself. It is time to strip away the camouflage that may have kept her hidden when she felt haunted. Or hunted. Wow, interesting slip there too, because that's a very haunting energy on that card. She has become complacent and her emotions are stagnant. It is time to move on, especially from an emotional situation or a relationship that may seem safe, but in fact is not the soul's calling. The mermaid has only just realized her moment to move is upon her, and she is saddened at the thought of discomfort, but she will soon move, and her sadness will be transformed into that sense of being fully alive, fully here, and that taking chances will lead to a greater growth once again. Once she does, she will transform into a dragon maid. The koi represents the urge to seek out the dragon self. So, parentheses, the Japanese believe koi are dragons unmade. The koi are very brave creatures. They have enough power to forge their way upstream, even leaping through waterfalls. Once they pass this great test, as the mermaid does, they will grow into their dragon selves. They are stoic, courageous, and related to the fearsome courage of the ancient samurai. When she breaks free from this small pond, she will have great glory and success and will always be honorable. She will always remember where she came from. So wow, that's a very interesting message, and I think it ties to a lot of these energies that are coming up here. And it talks about transformation. It talks about finding your footing in a place or in a situation, in a field, in an area of life, of working with energies that you feel you're not qualified to be in yet, but that you have so much untapped potential and skill for right now. So, and the signs that you're going to be receiving from this card, as I sort of shuffle the next cards, the tarot deck, that tell us more about the situation in general. So yeah, it's just going to be through meditation and through your own willful choice to take time and to slow down so that you can open up those channels to higher spiritual understanding. And to go back to the message from this card, and in connection with the second house here, maybe if you have been focused on matters of like, yeah, to go back to that 2nd to 8th house axis of making money in conventional ways that is very reliable, and maybe your savings account is really looking good right now, but the job that you've done, even though it gives you lots of security and you're really good at it, might feel opposed to your soul's calling, which is something that wants to connect to a lot of these esoteric energies and these things that you might feel you're not yet sure how to channel. That's what I'm seeing. So this is telling you that meditation is going to bring a lot of answers and keys, and will also further let you know which signs you're going to be seeing as sort of signifiers that you're aligning to the right path. Both of these cards also add up to 10, so you might be seeing lots of 10s or maybe 1s around, and those are numbers that talk about starting a new cycle and about being a leader and being courageous in starting that cycle. And as I said, 10, the 10 of Wands just came up, so 10 might be important for you. That also might be a date that is significant. Yeah, so anytime like the Scorpio-Taurus axis comes up, it's all about knowing when to stop when it comes to, like, this is sort of the paradigm that we're in right now. The South Node is in Scorpio, which says knowing when to stop in this process of sort of maybe doing lots of shadow work, exploration of uncharted territories, and the darker sort of gnarlier waters of like things like, you know, astral travel, so knowing when to stop, whatever. But also on the other side, let's say if the South Node is in Taurus, knowing when an emphasis on materials and on finances is actually draining and keeping you in an energy that is too disconnected from the spiritual. So evening out these extremes is what is needed in your life right now. And that also connects to the mediator card, which talks about balance between two potentially opposing forces, but also between forces that are unseen and forces that are really clearly seen. So you could quite literally make money from things that are esoteric. This also came up in, I think, group 2. Let's take a look at that if you feel called to it. The Page of Swords. So 10 of Wands, Wheel of Fortune. 10 of Wands talks about being overburdened, working too hard, having too much on your plate. And I love how the 10 of Wands is coming up. I mean, the Wheel of Fortune, which is also another 10. So you have like 10, 10, and if you count those there, that as well. And even the 2nd and 8th house add up to 10. Nice, I love that. So maybe the last 10-year cycle might be important to you. Maybe the last 10-month cycle. It's between 10 months and 10 years that we're talking about here. But I love how that Wheel of Fortune comes after the 10 of Wands because it signifies dropping some of these burdens. Lightening your load, basically. Oh, 3 of Cups, how cute. Little quokkas. Quokkas might be an important spirit animal for you. That's amazing. They're so cute. Look at the smile. Okay. This is also a really weird message. Maybe I referenced this show too much, but like, this reminds me of the blade of the dark one in Once Upon a Time, which is curly and weird or just wavy like this, which talks about, yeah, literally like getting seduced by dark power through things like magic. So once again, evening out the practical and the scene with the more esoteric. The 8 of Swords and 4 of Swords. Wow, to come up right under the other 4 of Swords. And the 7 of Wands. I'm going to get some clarifying cards for all of these as I look into them more closely. And the Scarab there, I think that's what that is. It reminds me of the Sun energy. So it might feel like you've been in a dark period for however long this cycle has lasted for you, maybe of overwork of the 10 of Wands. But this is about to change. So this overworking also makes you feel disconnected from others who are really significant to you, or maybe it has prevented you from meeting people who feel close to you or who feel like they could be really wonderful allies in helping you align to a path that is more... Oh my gosh, I can't believe that this happened. I was going to say to a path that is more aligned to this reality that we're talking about here of unlocking, which gives you so much access. And as I say this, I get this Hierophant card, which has a key, talks about unlocking to so much wealth. And look at how crazy. We have entirely different decks. Wheel of Fortune here with the Scarab. And I said it reminds me of the Sun because I was subconsciously remembering this card. And look at how they came up. Crazy, cannot be made up. So with the Hierophant here, yeah, there you are locked into some sort of institutionalized repetitive process of work that makes you feel really overburdened, and that puts too much emphasis on material matters, where it feels like everything you're doing, yeah, you're working mostly with materials and mostly with this sort of practical energy and this Taurus energy, but you're not channeling your mystical energy, which could also be like artistic potentially, I'm sensing for some of you. You're not channeling any of that in it, and you're sort of giving your life force away to that job, that institution, or if they are different things, multiple things too. Oh my gosh. And therefore you're losing a lot of that life force, because that's what the Sun indicates, with potentially a lot of pettiness, potentially a lot of people who are like this, toxic, draining, dark forces in your life. Or maybe people you feel like you have to defend yourself against, but you don't have enough energy to do so because you're just channeling a lot of your daily activities into this just, you know, second house kind of stuff, because you're trying to save for something, or maybe you're trying to be practical. Maybe you feel like you have no choice because the Eight of Swords came up, and this talks about mental imprisonment or feeling like you are stuck in a situation and cannot escape it. So with the Three of Cups, maybe, you know, these cute quokkas are actually a little bit more ruthless than we initially thought, because the Three of Cups talks about the social environment around you. It talks about the people. Wow, interesting how we have, wow, look at how these cards connect. This wavy line here is sort of forming a bigger whole. And I talked about how this is signifies kind of toxic energy, potentially the corruption of darkness, or just pettiness. And this is being, if you're not aware of this, or if you're not accepting this, then with the sun there, you're going to be made really aware of this, because this is what's contributing to this draining toxic energy that is in your life, that's preventing you from channeling that life force that you have, that's so mystical and amazing and magical, into things that bring you the wealth. I feel like for some of you, like you're working, but like you're working at the highest capacity there with the Ten of Wands, but you're not even getting as much money actually as you need. So there needs to be a balance. There needs to be an evening out here. The Two of Pentacles talks about being on the go. It talks about being really moving really quickly and potentially juggling between two different things, and back to the second and eighth house energies, potentially, you know, working two jobs at the same time, one that's really materially based where you feel like you're being ripped off, potentially you're around toxic people, and one that channels this energy, which I feel is the true one that describes you, that where you're tapping into some of those eighth house themes, whether that is mystical energy, mediumship, whether that is channeling, whether as an artist, as a spiritual person, as a guide, as a mediator, maybe working in law, maybe also there was something else that came up with that, but I forgot what it was, because at the end of the day, it's that energy, that eighth house energy, that mystical force within you that not just is meant to bring you justice and get you out of this imbalanced state where you're giving more of your life force away than the money and the actual materials that you're receiving, but that also shows other people how to do that. So you can be very inspirational to others by tapping more into that eighth house energy within you. So how can you do that? Let's see, with the Hangman and the Eight of Swords, you feel like you cannot escape this situation for some reason. And the Four of Swords coming up, that further signifies with the Sloth here, it feels like if you were to take this step to move forward, it would be a really, really slow one. But this tells you, do just a little bit, even if you feel like you have to do it on the side, do a little bit of this thing that's really your soul energy every single day, and that's going to get you very far. The Page of Cups, I don't know what else stands out here that could give you further. Let's actually pull another card as to how you might be able to escape this cycle that feels potentially draining and toxic to you. Five of Wands, so that indicates some struggle and having to fight for yourself, which echoes the Seven of Wands at the bottom of that other deck. So being a little bit more assertive actually too, because that goes back to the potentially shadow sides of Libra, which is complacency and also putting other people's first, giving more to others and making others happy at the expense of your own happiness and independence there, potentially codependency as well, but being a little bit more assertive and cutting off those people who are toxic and not even allowing them to channel your energy at all. Lots of repeating motifs of channeling there. And the Scarab could also be a really important spirit animal, as well as indicator that you're on the right path. So check that out. Check out that symbolism if you want to find out more. Come on, let's get one more card. It doesn't want to tell me. Okay, so lots of mystery in this reading. Okay, Seven of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, reversed. So, oh, and then the Chariot. Nice. So actually, victory and success is way closer than you think. You just have to change your outlook. And at the end of the day, actually, that is exactly what the Hangman is about. And it's the card that explained the Eight of Swords. Change your outlook on whatever assumptions you have about the fact that, supposed fact that you can't escape the situation. That's really important. It has to start there. And this starts with clearing your energy, your aura, and setting up a space that is safe and clean. Also, that's coming up, that is just yours, that you have the space, the freedom to meditate in and to channel a lot of, to get back to your mystical channeling energy, which is very natural to you and to who you are. So changing that outlook and giving yourself time, even if it's just a little bit at a time each day, to do that thing that you're meant to do. Even if you have this full-time job, yes, it's going to be potentially the 10 of Wands is going to get even more 10 of Wandsy before it changes, before, you know, you can lock into this new reality where your life force is going directly towards the thing that it's meant to be going to. So yeah, but you're closer to success than you think with the 7 of Pentacles reverse, going to the Chariot, straight to the Chariot. And yep, what's coming up next? Magician. You have all of this power to manifest this change yourself. I mean, so much 8th house energy. You are a really, really powerful being, and you can create this shift for yourself. You don't even need anyone else. Although, yeah, you can become that dragon. That's what this says. Like, why have you stopped being this powerful person? Why have you made yourself in this potentially overly laboring way be smaller than you are? It starts with asserting yourself more. That's really the key there, the first key. And we also got 2 other keys. But okay, let's see any other message that you should know. And yeah, anytime dominance comes up, like, don't let those people, those toxic people around you, especially at your job, I'm sensing, ever even attempt to dominate you, because that's, yeah, they don't have any of the life force. Like this, you know, it's a skeleton. They're lacking all flesh and organs and blood, and you're coming up as this sun that they're draining from, because they don't have any of that energy themselves. This could also apply to a more personal, like romantic connection and relationship. If this also applies to a business partnership, that could be the case too as well. And also not letting your resources be drained by institutions that don't have your best interest at heart, with the Hierophant reverse there. Okay, that's the final message you need. So I bring peace with me wherever I go. So that talks exactly about that 4 of Swords energy of clearing up your bubble and your personal space, even when you're in that was such a strong message. Even when you're in public space where you feel like you might not be able to uphold those boundaries, even there, keeping that personal bubble in that space and separating yourself from those petty energies around, whether it's people or other things. And let's get one final magic card for you here for this advice. So yeah, there's quite a little bit that needs to change for you to align to this path of greatest abundance, but it is possible. And look, we have air. It starts with your mentality. So work with the element of air to cut through the core of a situation and see the truth. So that seeing the truth came up with the sun. There's some asset within yourself, some skill that you're either overlooking, not valuing, not honoring fully. There was that message about honor there too in the Quake card. Or that you've forgotten about, or that you've stopped working with. This needs to be recovered, and it starts with changing your mentality about what is available to you right now and about how much freedom you have, right? Because with dominance and this 8 of Swords card and the Hanged Man and whatever, it talks about you feeling like you're not powerful enough at the moment, but you're so much more powerful than you give yourself credit for. And maybe you had moments like this in the past where you were thriving. You can absolutely recover that. So it starts with these steps that we've talked about here. So lots more to be talked about here. I feel like this is just like the first step, and we didn't get a really full message in this reading about like what that path is, but channeling that mystical force within you and not giving your power away is the first step to aligning to this path that will bring you the greatest wealth and abundance, which is totally available to you and which will multiply. I mean, we've seen the Magician card coming up after the the Chariot and the 7 of Pentacles reversed. Like, all of this is gonna exponentially multiply and magnify once you take that first step, and you're going to be seeing lots of 10s, lots of 4s, And you're going to be alerted by your spirit guides, as well as just intuitively, you're going to be alerted whenever you're around people or situations that don't feel right. Like you're going to know physically too, that this situation, this environment is not right for me and it's draining me, and you need to exit that. And it's telling you, take small steps, even if it feels impossible right now, to exit that situation. And that is going to, the more of those steps you take, the more you're going to see these signs, these synchronicities that indicate this change with the Wheel of Fortune towards the better is coming for you. Absolutely. So that is what I'm seeing for you, card number 4. I hope that some of this resonated, that you enjoyed this reading. I would love to hear your stories and comments down below. I also have an Etsy for personal readings. If you're interested, I do astrology stuff like birth charts, synastry charts, solar returns, etc. And shorter personal readings. And yeah, I would really appreciate your likes, shares, subscribes, things of this sort. And I hope you have a magical time and day, and I will see you back here some other time maybe. Bye. So hi to everyone who picked the 5th card, as well as this Jasper stone. So let's see what your path to greatest prosperity and abundance looks like. So the first 2 cards are going to signify you, what energy you're bringing to this, what inner archetype you are representing. And this card also talks about the techniques and the ways in which you will be channeling this energy. This talks about your journey or your path to this reality of great prosperity. This is a card that signifies the guidance and the support you will have along the way, as well as this one will talk about the challenges potentially that you'll be facing. And this card finally is about the signs that you'll be seeing when you are on this path, so that tell you that you are aligning to it. Okay, so right away, what I'm noticing from this card is I've used this archetype deck, of course, for every pile, and this one is the first one that has 2 titles on here, 2 names for this archetype. So it says Midas and Miser. So it's interesting, there's a sort of internal rhyme going on there. So this really all of a sudden is sort of bringing up 4 of Pentacles imagery here, which talks about being really frugal and saving up a lot and being really good with money, and just extremely good at calculating finances and things of this sort, which could lead to an experience that's Midas-like. But on the other side, it could lead to one of stinginess, or of an experience where you're sort of living in a mentality of lack, or where you're overly frugal when you don't need to be. So this is entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold. So delight in sharing life's riches. So that's awesome. You are naturally talented at working with money, with finances, with materials. And even if this card here, Taurus, wasn't here, I would have said that this is bringing up a lot of Taurus energy, although other earth signs are really possible, like Capricorn and Virgo too. But let's also actually read the shadow attributes of this card. I haven't really done that for other cards, but this says hoarding money and emotions, obsessive fear of losing your wealth. Okay, so you might already, as this card says, you might already have some resources that you think that you could use further to create the path that you want specifically. And this could have something to do with art, because Venus, which represents the card of the channels through which you'll be bringing this prosperity into the world, or attracting it, or both to yourself, talks about art. It's the planet not just of relationships and relationality in general, but it talks about creating things that are beautiful, that are aesthetically pleasing, things that are not necessarily needed, but that make the world a more beautiful, more interesting place. So this talks about, and this is a sort of similar message to, I think, the 3rd pile, that you will have so many resources, you will have just so much in this world that you can invest in anything that you want, including things that are not just necessary. So that's going back to this first card. So already what all of these cards are telling me is that if you are not in a place that feels like you have a lot, even though this says that you might, and potentially that, what I'm sensing also is that you might receive some sort of inheritance, because for the signs that you'll be receiving that tell you you're on this great path, we get a person. So one of the court cards, a King of Cups. So this talks about someone potentially older than you, giving you some money or some other resource that is important that you could use in creating these beautiful things that make the world just more interesting. But we'll see what else comes up out of that. But with the Venus card and these combined, if you're not in this place where you feel like you have a lot, then this is telling you to get out of that miser mentality and to trust your ability to quote, turn anything into gold, because you really, really have that. You might actually also have Venus in the 10th house, because we're asking here about the path to greatest prosperity, and in a way that is something that's related to the 10th house because it's what you might be known for. But of course, the 2nd house is super indicated, as it's also the one that's associated with Taurus. But in any case, this tells you that you have great artistic talent, great creative talent, and that you could use this both in something that's directly related to finances, but also in something that's related to art, and that has nothing to do with like the energy of money in its final result, like in its final form. Like if you're creating art, you know, you could of course create art that literally references money, but these two things are very much indicated here, as well as anything that has to do with aesthetics, beauty. Also another similar message to pile 3. So if you're drawn to that, take a look at that. The potential, so your support talks about, exactly, so heed wise counsel, listen. So there is a significant person, potentially older than you, who is going to help you along on this path. And I feel like maybe they've already experienced some of the things that you're going through now, or connected somehow to your dream, to your goals, and they have some of the same talents that they've further developed than you have at this moment. So they are going to be able to support you. So we'll get more out of that in just a second. But the challenge for you potentially along this path to aligning to this reality of prosperity is indicated here with this card. So it says Eclipse Mermaid, a powerful energy shift. So very, very interesting. This card is very powerful. It talks about, so eclipses are all about significant changes, and sometimes eclipse seasons tend to be a little bit violent, a little bit all over the place, kind of hectic for everyone. People tend to reach kind of their breaking point with something, because what the universe really does with eclipses is that it aligns things forcefully that are not aligned in the way that is best for everyone. So it's sort of like a moment of kind of a potentially overly heavy-handed correction from the universe. So you might have experienced such a moment, like where something that you've invested in, because Taurus also talks about investment, completely fell apart, or you lost a lot of money and now you don't have that money anymore. So maybe you're stuck in this miser kind of mentality. So this tells you that this was actually for your benefit, no matter how difficult it might seem right now, because it was meant to teach you lessons about both extremes of the equation. Like, wow, that's very interesting. Going back to that first message there, like you might also have, for some reason, I'm thinking Jupiter in the 2nd house, which talks about receiving a lot of money and having the potential to even indulge in luxury and things, again, like Venus related things to a really high degree, but then also having the capacity or having the tendency to lose a lot of money. So gambling is possible. So even if you didn't just gamble, but maybe invested in something that was not fully secure. So this was a lesson, whatever loss that you've experienced was a lesson, so that you would experience both extremes and know what it's like to have to be really frugal and have to be extremely detail oriented when you take care of finances, and take stock of the resources that you already have, and to make sure that you're getting as much as possible out of them without waste, and to also experience all of the beautiful things that life has to offer, the very full extent of it. So this was not a punishment, but it was quite literally an experience that was meant to teach you certain skills, techniques, so that you could gain something out of that. And like maybe, you know, you lost something, and you found yourself like you didn't have enough money to even pay the bills, but then you gained all of these skills, these sort of alchemical skills at working with finances, with numbers, that then also bring you down this path, this career path that you didn't expect before, that allow you to create so much more money and so many more resources than if you hadn't experienced this thing. So this challenge that might have felt forceful or just not fair at all, unfair, was meant to teach you something, although of course that is still a difficult lesson. But let's read this card for encouragement here. So what will be supporting you down this path? So Frog Princess, and this is number 10. So number 1, yeah, lots of ones in these readings in this specific pick a card, and they talk about forging a new path, being a leader. So all of the difficulties you've experienced were meant to make you stronger, and also to make you yourself someone who gives counsel to others, and to turn you into this emotionally mature but also spiritually mature, just experienced person in all senses of the term, so that you could use the experiences from your own life to teach others about this whole process, and potentially about kind of experiencing both sides of the extreme. So if that's a theme for you, then this is just a further confirmation of that. That could also be the case in relationships, because Venus, of course, I'm also thinking of relationships like being very extreme. So something that could be, you know, like that feels like your dreams came true, and a relationship that really drains you, whether of resources or of hope or of something else. So let's read this card. What's your support during this time? So it says, we often believe we know much more than we truly do. There is always a time when the right thing to acknowledge is, I do not know. There is no shame in that, or in having a strong, resilient, and rather undercover advisor who hides her credentials. Your advisor will not necessarily wear a suit or have the robes of a guru, but they will be able to clarify things for you right away. At this time, release your attachment to your own intuition. No matter how exalted and wise you are said to be, like we just said here with this card, with the King of Cups, you must listen to advice from a wise and somewhat unexpected source. Okay, very interesting. So if someone, like also this could be because this signifies the signs that you'll be seeing along this path. If someone comes along with you with sort of like sage advice, or if they sort of are coming to you, maybe giving you even unsolicited advice, as sort of maybe difficult as it is to open up to that, listen if it resonates, because they have something really significant and wise to impart to you. So maybe this experience that you've had where something fell apart, maybe it made you seek counsel, and you might have been given a variety of it, some that really resonated, some that felt really harsh, and some that was really supportive and kind. So just it's like that message of discernment there. Detach from expectations and try to connect a little bit more to your higher self, in the sense where you're not just responding emotionally to what's being said to you, but you are thinking as objectively as possible, or just discerning in as objective a way as possible which things are worthy and which things are valuable for you to take as advice, and which things you should release and ignore. Okay, so let's get some more information about your path on this journey into alignment with this reality of highest prosperity and abundance. Okay, Three of Cups, so something to do with community and meeting the right people. Yeah, that's always going to be a sign for you, is that if you're feeling like others are like-minded people when it comes to your pursuits, you are on the right path, and also you're going to get a lot of assistance. This is going to be a collaborative project. It's going to be something that, despite you being so independent and so self-sufficient, maybe that's what didn't work out in the past, is that, okay, the Wheel of Fortune once again. These cards did come out in the previous pile. So let's make sure to shuffle properly. So yeah, if you were used to doing things your own way or just by yourself, then maybe that's what led to that difficult experience in the past. Maybe you were meant to also ask for help or for assistance, for some sort of guidance. And yeah, there's Five of Swords here, so this talks about betrayal, maybe having been, okay, the Seven of Cups, this is the third time it comes up in this pick a card. There was some sort of betrayal. You've experienced like maybe a business partner or something like left you in the dust. Venus rules over all significant contractual relationships, including business partnerships. So this definitely indicates, I think, okay, lots of cards that are a little bit similar. Let's just get one more. Yeah, so if you've experienced some sort of betrayal in the past that made you feel like you were unsure of this path that you're on or of your goals, then you're meant to find your confidence again. And the new people who are going to come in now with this Three of Cups are going to be very different. They're going to make you, they're going to uplift you rather than either suck you dry of resources or challenge you or make you feel unworthy or contribute to some sort of repeat of a loss of resources that you have experienced in the past. Because yeah, that's what the Five of Swords talks about. It talks about betrayal. Let's get some clarifying cards. And the Seven of Cups talks about being sort of stuck in a land of confusion and fogginess. So with the Knight of Swords here, you are meant to cut through this fog, this confusion, and to find your path again. Although it might be some time before this happens, but it is guaranteed that it will happen, because the Ace of Swords is the last card that comes up here, and it talks about inspiration. It talks about having a sort of like upsurge of energy, of inspiration, of insight. And the Four of Swords indicates a time of rest and of taking stock, of reflecting, and of sort of contemplation, also of healing your wounds. So, okay, Temperance here. Actually, let me just keep that upright. I don't really feel like this needs to be, ooh, yeah, okay. With the Tower coming up there, yep. Yeah, you might have literally felt that the rug was swept from under you with this loss that you've experienced. Like, I already feel like for some reason, like you have either been near someone who had a lot of resources and didn't share them. So you were around wealth, you were around money, but you might have lost it. Either you had some of this, or it was somehow around you, but because we get the King of Pentacles with the Five of Swords, maybe you didn't receive like an inheritance that was meant for you, or shared resources from a partnership like were not evenly split, or it was just unfair what happened. Oh my gosh, and exactly as I say that, we're getting the Six of Pentacles, which talks about equality and balance in finances. So wow, you're going to get a chance to even this out again. You're going to get this back somehow, whether this was an investment or something that you lost through a relationship, because with the King of Pentacles, this talks about someone who's stable, who is reliable, and who is mature, and who has a lot of resources. So Five of Swords there indicates that maybe they've taken advantage of you. Maybe you felt like you were stolen from by someone who was more wealthy than you, which is really messed up. And yeah, with the Tower and the Wheel of Fortune, talks about two things. First is that maybe the Temperance card should have been reversed there with the Three of Cups. And it's funny, in the previous pile, or in one of them, the Quokkas being so cute here on this card, still, despite being so cute, maybe they were hiding something more, like a little bit darker, which is funny to think of with this card. But maybe you've trusted someone, you've trusted a group of friends before, you've trusted some people, but they let you down, and it was super unexpected. Like, this turn of events was just extremely unexpected. But what this is talking about is that there will be yet another unexpected turn of events that will get you back, that will turn this wheel in your favor this time, and get you connected to an experience. Okay, so the Devil, nice, with materials, connection and a relationship with materials and with money that feels right. Okay, and the King of Cups once again. So you have learned a lot. Oh my gosh, you guys, 10 of Pentacles at the bottom. That's amazing. This is the best possible card to get in a reading about finances, and you are getting it. You're hitting the jackpot here. So this is absolutely guaranteed you. Like, I feel like it's just your birthright to be around a lot of money, around a lot of materials and resources and treasures and things that are so significant that you can create anything and everything that you want with them, including things that are considered potentially superfluous or even indulgent and luxurious in life. So that's very, very clear there. And this entire process, like, yes, it was meant to show you the potential dangers of overinvestment, or of sort of not very mindful or careful investment, or collaboration with others through finances or through something related to materials, so that you would be given this really significant strength and this ability to cut through any bullcrap that ever comes back in your life. Like, if you've trusted someone who had a really magnificent story, or who sold you like a story, a sort of like fantasy about what you could achieve with this and that, that's also what the Seven of Cups says. This talks about this whole experience, as difficult as it may have been, was meant to teach you how to see, how to discern. And we're going back to that message from that card again, between things that are too good to be true and things that really have potential. And this will even out this karma that you've experienced financially and materially in your life, and it's going to bring you so much more than you would have had if you didn't have these difficult experiences here. So yeah, if you feel like right now you have to be in this sort of Four of Pentacles mode where you're saving a lot and being extremely frugal, this is not going to last forever, but this time is also meant to be a little bit constraining to you so that you don't distract yourself by like overspending, by splurging randomly, or by engaging in any negative behaviors and bad habits that have maybe brought you to this place in the past. So this time is kind of like a detox moment, conceptually, financially, materially, but also emotionally, so that you don't continue any potentially toxic attachment to either people, circumstances, or ways of thinking, as well as impulses when it comes to using and engaging with materials and with money. And this process, when you come out of this detox process and this period of reflection, you're going to really be so much more connected to your intuition, and you're going to really feel at the soul level, at the higher self level, that you've grown so much. And any single idea that comes your way, everything that you can think of to set out on this new journey, this new path, is going to be divinely inspired, and it's going to get you there, absolutely. And it is also part of your soul contract, and it is a soul mission that you're meant to have. So what also with the King of Cups, of course, and the Six of Cups here, King of Cups coming up twice. So what do you actually really love? What do you really feel emotionally connected to? That's what you're meant to make into an empire, basically, here at the with the Ten of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. That exact thing, that thing that really connects to your soul and that draws forth people who are part of your soul tribe there with the Three of Cups and the Six of Cups. It's that thing that is divinely inspired and that you're going to get access to in your meditations, through this process of reflection, this period of reflection, through just your journaling, just the moments when you are at rest, when you are sort of still contemplating this whole thing, this whole story that we talked about here, and maybe what are the reasons for why this happened. Whatever keeps showing up persistently as an idea is something that you feel connected to emotionally, that you want to work on, and that you want to turn into money, then that is exactly the thing that's going to be able to get you that. And chances are this has something to do with art, with beauty, with aesthetics, with luxurious materials, things of this kind, music as well, although anything else that's related to this energy of Venus, which is all about enjoying the full extent of the world. This could also have to do with food too. Taurus really talks about food, so that's very indicated as well, but the possibilities are many. Okay, so let's get one more card. What else do you need to know? Okay, that one. Nice, and I think this came up in a different pile, but guidance is always, or is available to me now. I know that angels, ancestors, and spirit guides are always at hand. I do not walk alone. Really, really nice. That's awesome, and that's exactly what we have there with the guide. That might not be so visible, but who is there with you. So that's really, really awesome. Let's get one magic card. Your final little prediction here. These are also symbols that could be used in any rituals to bring forth whatever you are trying to manifest. So let's see what, come on, just give us a one card, please. Okay, so interesting. This is the first card, the card that came up for the first card as well. So you bring light to this world. I feel like I should get you one more because I feel like there's an extra key. Okay, that one. So nice. Time to shine creates the energetic resonance for golden opportunities. This is what's happening. And I think this symbol is really talking about once you've established these goals and have really connected to that Ace of Wands energy within that tells you what you're most connected to emotionally and spiritually, then you can send it out there in the world. And you're going to receive so much from it because the arrows from this triangle are pointing outwards. But before that can happen, you have to sort of understand what the story really was here in your life when it comes to your experience with materials and money. And then look at what we have at the bottom of the deck. It's crazy. Trinket 5, manifesting money and income. So also yeah, sort of like triangle magic or something like that, like geometric magic when it comes to money. That might be something useful for you. But anyway, that is what I'm seeing for you, card number 5. I hope that some of this resonated. Let me know what your stories are down below, how and if this applies to you. I also have an Etsy for personal readings. I do lots of astrological stuff like birth charts, synastry readings, solar returns, etc., and individual tarot card readings like love connections, etc. So check those out if you're interested. Otherwise, I hope you have a magical day, and maybe I'll see you back here some other time. Bye.